there, everybody. How is it going today? Thank you all so much for tuning in to a much requested video from you guys. So I get asked a lot about if I would do more rhythm lessons and riff lessons and stuff like that. And absolutely. So we're going to dive onto this one. There's not really tabs for this because I'm more explaining concepts, but if you do want something to take home and practice, it's tabbed out for you and all that stuff, you can check out my free guitar course. It's called the Fretboard Decoder. It is right there. You can snag that down below. So let's talk about some riffs for a second, because a lot of times you guys ask me if I would tab out or talk about the riffs I play at the intros to videos, and 99.9999% of the time, those are improvised. I make those up just like the one I did here at the beginning of the video, on the spot, and it's just one of those little fun things for me to do. Like I love doing that. I like trying to create something off the cuff. That's just really exciting to do, and I thought, what, I'll talk about that and how to kind of make riffs, at least in my opinion, more exciting. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a standard riff. I'm going to try to come up with something, and then we're going to build off of it and try to make it, like what I said, more exciting. So the riff that we're going to do that at E. I am tuned on half step. That's why you guys haven't seen this guitar too much recently, is I've had it half step down, so I tend to not do lessons and stuff like that half step down, but today I will. Good excuse to use the old Cronus. So the riff is going to be... maybe something like that, Okay, so we'll say that that's our riff, Well, how do you make it more exciting? Well, the first thing to do is literally play it more exciting. Like, what do you think of when you think of excitement? And there's a lot of energy, there's all kinds of stuff. So if I'm sitting there going... so if I play it, just literally more dynamics, more oomph to... it sounds more exciting. And there's a couple other things I'm doing there. So how do you kind of put those together? Well, to really make something sound more exciting, if you start off more reeled back, and this goes back to the whole dynamics thing, start, like I said, reeled back. And then you go... that sounds a lot more exciting because, again, we've had this huge sonic increase in sound and all that stuff. So sometimes the way to make something sound more exciting is to first make it sound less exciting. Now, like I said, I am playing it with more, I'm attacking the strings more, I'm hitting them harder. The way I'm digging in is you're hearing pinch harmonics. That's another good way to make things sound more exciting. But this is really where you want to take your kind of just your toolbox of stuff that you've learned throughout the years. And that is going to include sliding, tapping, pinch harmonics, hammer-ons, pull-offs, understanding octaves, scales, all that kind of stuff to make it sound more exciting. Maybe harmonizing. That kind of stuff can all apply to this. So let's take that riff, if we just play it normal. And let's kind of examine what's happening exactly right here. So when I'm playing it normal like that, I'm trying not to do anything else. My hands are instinctually wanting to do other things. But I'm doing a couple things right off the bat. So I'm palm muting the strings. Again, a lot of this is going to relay back to the whole dynamics thing I talked about. I always stress this, is I think playing with dynamics is so crucial to not fatiguing the listener, not being kind of... I guess overstimulated would be if you have too much going on. So, you know what I'm saying, though. So when I go to that 3, I'm adding a little bit of bend, I think that bending is a great way to make something sound more exciting, because a lot of times there's this clash, because when you're bending a note, you're going through different notes to go... if I did it real slow... it doesn't sound very good, so I think it's interesting for our ears when you do it fast, because we get to the note we need to go to. And then we're ending there on that last note, so I'm adding a little bit of a bend. And I think that can work pretty much anywhere, as long as you're bending in pitch or what you're trying to do, or you're resolving it. So even if you're playing, if you bend out of key... You know, I'm basically starting out of key and I'm bending in key. That can be kind of cool. Maybe I can do that. If you want like a real, like there's a lot of rub to that one. But I think it still can work. So maybe bending, you know, to the note, start out of key, maybe start in key, bend out, come back in. It's just trying to think creatively, and most importantly is, you know, that you're resolving it, and you're not just kind of leaving that note hanging out there to dry. Like, well, you know, eventually you'll resolve by yourself, right? And no, that doesn't happen. You have to do that. So, you know, resolving to a root note is the easiest thing to do in that situation. So whatever key you're in, just make sure if you're in E. Oh, sorry. Make sure you know where all your E's are. You know, that is very crucial in itself. Okay, so now let's talk about where exactly we're playing at on the neck here. So this riff is pretty much in one area right here. So for me, whenever I'm trying to expand a riff and just to make it sound, you know, more exciting in general, is going back to dynamics. You're gonna hear me talk about that a lot. Is I think sonically, where am I at? You know, so everything's pretty much been down here. I'm like, okay, so how can I make that sound more interesting? I was like, well, you know, if I want, maybe I want the same notes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to play those notes somewhere else or some kind of combination. So the first thing that came to my mind was instead of going something like that, because fatter strings sound fatter. You can hear the difference. Same note, it still sounds a little bit different. So maybe the I'm trying to learn this on the fly. So already, I like that. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds different. Maybe slide a little bit more back and forth. Sorry. Maybe don't go down to this one each time. Maybe I'll slide up to the G up here. So. You know, just stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's really starting to morph itself into a new riff. It's all the same notes, but it's suddenly making a lot more sense. Now, going back to like the pinch harmonic thing, maybe I'll end with like a pinch harmonic one time. Add them all over the place, stuff like that. You know, and that's where octave, so maybe like. Again, we're adding layers. I think a lot of it comes down to stacking layers on top of each other to where it just makes this bigger, kind of like unified riff. So before, remember, we started out very small. Now, something I forgot to mention about that is I'm using my fingers. So I'm taking off a little bit more of that aggressive attack on the strings from my pick. So, oh, sorry. Okay, there, and maybe like think even more like you know, very high octave. So I'll do, yeah, okay. So. Okay, maybe I want to start with that or something like that, but you know, dynamically it's very different, it's shifted a lot. So, you know, as far as making it exciting, there's so many different options we could do. Alrighty, homies, that is going to be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoy these videos. We're going to keep on rocking out of here and play some riffs. Man, riffs are the best. Peace out, homies.